Hello and welcome to this episode of my new series, Lessons in Awakening. So I'm dedicating this video to the emotional healing technique known as the emotion code. Now, there are many emotional healing techniques out there. I've already talked about the importance of emotional healing, but I'm going to talk about the emotion code because it was so important in my life and it was a major part of my awakening. How we look at the Great Awakening, we're waking up to so many different things, but I look at it as in we are waking up to the fact that we are energy beings and we are expanding into more of who we are. And that all involves raising our vibration and expanding our level of consciousness. And from my experience, one of the easiest and quickest and the amazing ways to raise your vibration is the emotion code, because it literally releases the low frequency emotions. We've had a look in the other videos, the chart with the low frequency emotions of guilt and shame, despair, and all of those. And by releasing them, you're releasing the lower frequency while also hopefully putting in more positive frequency. And overall, your frequency is just going to rise. So that's why I'm in love with the emotion code. It's changed my life, and that's why I'm so passionate about sharing it with others. So the book, The Emotion Code, written by Dr. Bradley Nelson, he devised the emotional healing technique and wrote the book, obviously. There's a link in the description to purchase his book. It's a self-help book. He starts off with lots of case studies, and then he goes into the methodology. Now, with the methodology, the clients that I coach have the biggest problem is learning to sway test and muscle test. Now, some people, you can use a pendulum as well. If you're into pendulums, fill your boots with it. You can use the pendulum. Perfect. Otherwise, sway testing and muscle testing. Now, sway testing is, I think, a life skill. I think it should be taught in schools. I've got a video on sway testing on my YouTube channel, which I'll put a link below to that as well. And I've also got a video on muscle testing. And sway testing and muscle testing are the things that I coach in my online courses because I use them for everything, not just the emotion code. You can use your muscle testing. It's kinesiology. You can use your kinesiology skills in all areas of life for numerous things. And one of those numerous things is the emotion code. So I am passionate about sharing that. So, and it does take some practice. And usually it's lack of confidence that stops people learning with the sway test. It's lack of confidence in their own answers. And that's where I come in, helping people with their confidence. Once you can sway test and muscle test yourself confidently, the emotion code is super easy and simple. So I'm going to start by showing you the chart. This is the chart. Now, this is the official chart. You can see there are 36 emotions here, divided into 2 columns and 6 rows. I always say to people, don't get hung up on the language. People sometimes get hung up on the vocabulary. You've got to remember these are energies, okay? They're emotional energies, and we're just putting a word on them so that we can talk about them. Because otherwise we could just call them energy number 1, energy number 2, energy number 3. But also putting a word on them does help you acknowledge them. So when they come up, you kind of have an idea of what experience it was in your life that created that emotional response. So, but don't get hung up on them in too much detail, because obviously, we use the emotion code in other languages. And so it is just a tool. The language is just a tool to talk about and communicate the emotional energies involved. Also, in the emotion code, they use a magnet. This is my magnet. It's a duo. It's called a duo. It's from the Nikan range. You can use a fridge magnet, but the truth is, guys, we are magnetic. You can actually use your hand. and you don't really need a magnet at all. I have over time been kind of cutting a few corners. It's like anything, you need to learn the rules and then you can break the rules. But what I want to say about the rituals or the rules, rituals in anything like this are really just to hang your belief on. Because the truth is, you could go and sit under a tree and meditate and release all of your trapped emotions. The reason that you could do that if you believed that you could do that. But the problem is that you don't believe that you can do that. So rituals are very much to help us hang our belief so that we feel like we've done something. It's a bit like when you want to manifest. You set your desire and then you take the baby steps or whatever, relevant action steps, okay? And then you detach from the outcome and then you receive, okay? There's your steps for quantum manifestation or the law of attraction or however you want to look at it. So it's the same thing. The rituals provide the relevant action steps. So when your intuition gets to a certain level, you will intuitively be able to cut a few corners. But so if you believe that you can just use your hand, then you can. Also, the emotion code uses the governing meridian. We have meridian lines running through our body, as in the traditional Chinese medicine meridian lines. They come out at our hands, our feet, and our head, which is why reflexology works on the hands and the feet. And that's why Indian head massage is so powerful, because you are stimulating the meridian line where the energy flows, and each meridian line flows through an organ or a part of the body, and therefore you are stimulating that organ as well. Little sidetrack there on how reflexology works. But basically there is a governing meridian which starts here and it goes up, over and down the back. Okay, so you take your magnet or your hand or your fridge magnet or whatever, and you run it like this, over. Okay, now 3 times. 3 is the magic number. We know that. How would you do it? You've learned to muscle test. So I muscle test like this. So whether you're sway testing, which is standing up and swaying, or whether you're muscle testing, some people use this one. You need to look at my muscle testing videos for that. If you're struggling with your muscle testing, then sign up to my 6-week online course. I'll put the link in below, because that's what I help people with. Okay, so you would just ask, there's numerous questions you can ask with the emotion code. You can, if you have a symptom, a physical symptom or an emotional symptom, if you have a pain somewhere, you can say, what is the underlying cause of this pain? Or what is the underlying cause of the eczema or the migraine or whatever, the digestive problems, whatever your symptom is, you can say, you can ask, what is the underlying cause? And then find emotions that are contributing to it. You can also ask, is there anything I can release to raise my immune system? That's a powerful one, and that's one I use a lot with clients. You can also ask, if you know that you have an emotional issue, so if there's is there anything I can release you could ask, is there an underlying reason to my feeling of being angry, or my feeling of being sad, or my feeling of being anxious? You might think, well, that's a silly question because obviously it's anxiety, but sometimes it isn't. You can have, bitterness, resentment, what have you, all being connected to a sensation of being angry or what have you. Because often it's accumulative. Often when we have an overwhelming feeling, it's because there are so many trapped emotions contributing to it. But you can also ask, if you know that you overreact, like with anger or with anxiety, or with fear or what have you, if you know that you overreact to stuff, maybe panic attacks, you can literally ask, is there a trapped emotion of anxiety that I can release at this time? Yes, release it. Is there a trapped emotion of anger that I can release at this time? Yes. And then keep going. Ask if there's another one. Ask if there's another one. Because if you do have a ball, and I think we've talked about this in other videos, if you do have a ball of energy accumulated, you want to be able to get all of those emotions out so that they don't attract any others. So you can ask questions like that and just release loads and loads of the same emotion that you've trapped over time throughout your life. But my favorite question on the emotion code is there anything we can release for this person's highest good at this time? So I just put all my trust and love and faith in the higher realms to guide that. Just knowing that there's a greater intelligence out there than my human. And therefore, is there anything we can release for this person's highest good at this time? And it always brings relevant emotions up. So whatever your question is, I will just use that one as an example. So you could go, is there anything we can release at this time for this person's highest good? Yes, you're muscle testing, and it will go yes. Is it in column A? You're just going to ask, is it in column A? Okay, if you get a no, you can use some common sense. We can use common sense. We know that it's in column B. Okay, and then I ask, is it in an odd number row? If I get a yes, I'm going to ask, is it in row 1? If it's a no, row 3 or row 5. If I get a no to is it in an odd number row, obviously I'm going to start with row 2. Right? You've got a little bit of common sense going on here, a little bit of logic, a little bit of left brain, right brain going on. Okay, so you identify the box that it's in. Okay, and once you get to the box, you've got 5 emotions, and then you just break it down. Is it the first one? Is it the second one? Is it the third one? And you're muscle testing, yes and no. It's just yes and no. Strong is yes, weak is no. So then once you've identified the emotion, okay, you can ask the question, is there anything else I need to know? Now, I tend to find that when I first started, I'd often get a yes, and then I would be looking for the age that somebody was. How do you find the age? You literally just find the age of the person that you're working on, or yourself, if you're working on yourself, and just cut your age in half. So did I trap this emotion before the age of 30, for example? Yes or no? Okay, if it was no, then you know that you trapped it from 30 onwards. Again, we've got more common sense and logic going on. Did I trap it before the age of 40? Yes. Now you know it's between 30 and 40. Did I trap it before the age of 35? Yes. Now I know it's between 30 and 35. So I can just go, did I trap it at 31, 32, 33, 30, until I get a yes. As soon as you get a yes, stop. Because if you keep on going after a yes, you're putting confusion out there. So trust your answers. Okay, so you can sometimes find the age. Now, one of the reasons that I tend not to need to find any more information on a trapped emotion is this: if you open yourself up and get out of denial, okay, get out of denial about having these trapped emotions. I mean, somebody my age with a trapped emotion of anxiety, why would you deny that? Why would you deny that? You know, just accept that we have 50 trillion cells in our body, and we carry our biography becomes our biology, as I've said before. Getting out of denial means that we openly accept it and we acknowledge it. And so, and also, if we know that we're healing for the whole ancestral line, our inherited, you know, our ancestors and the culture that we're in, and the collective, you know, there's so much that we're healing for. Just get out of denial. It's much easier to be open to having these emotions, and because why would they come up if they weren't there? You know, if you start doubting that they're there, then you're doubting the whole thing. And if you doubt the whole thing, you're just going to get doubt back. You know, there is a point where it is trust and faith is needed. It's you are creating it. Why would you wouldn't be watching this video, you wouldn't be interested in the emotion code, you wouldn't be looking at healing yourself emotionally if you didn't know that that was what you needed to do, right? Because you are the creator of your own experience, and I'm assuming that you're creating what you need, right? That's what happens, and we get drawn to what we need. So I tend to find now that I don't need any other information. As soon as the emotion comes up, I can acknowledge it. And if I'm working on a client, they can acknowledge it. And if I'm working on them remotely and I'm tuned into them by proxy, then their higher self is acknowledging it. The higher self is never in denial. Okay. So then we just take the magnet, or you can just use your hand, and we just literally go, well, actually I say we. I tend to say we because I think of it as we are all one, whether I'm working with a client or just on my own, we've got higher realms helping us. We are all everything. So I just feel more comfortable with we, but you can use I if you want. I mean, it's up to you, see how you feel. Okay, tune into the energy of it. So we are releasing a trapped emotion of anxiety. We are releasing a trapped emotion of anxiety. We are releasing a trapped emotion of anxiety. I'm just, that's just an example of how I would do it. Now, personally, probably part of my yogi training is I use the breath a lot. So after 3 times, I tend to inhale, and I tend to feel the energy within me, and then I exhale. So anyone that's worked with me knows that I huff and puff quite a lot when I'm doing this work. I've met people that actually belch out the emotion. So I don't feel so bad about huffing and puffing, but you don't have to huff and puff. But you do have to believe and trust and have faith. And then, of course, we can always ask the question, have we released that trapped emotion of anxiety? And then you can just test it for a yes. It's that simple. It is that simple. I wanted to go through it really quickly, just to let you know how simple it was. The book is, the link for the book is in the description. I will also put at the end of this video the sway testing and muscle testing videos so that you can teach yourself that as well. But I do want to say that if you're struggling with it at all, or if you want help with your sway testing and muscle testing, or if you want to know what other healing modalities I use that use the sway testing and muscle testing, or what other sessions I offer, you can have a look at my 6-week online course. I'll put a link in below, because I cover a number of healing modalities that you can use for yourself, which is really empowering. You don't have to go to expensive energy healers. You can learn to do it for yourself, not just the emotion code, other things we cover. And we also look at healing on a thought level. Okay, so this is emotional. We want to master our emotions and our thoughts. So we also talk about mastering thoughts as well, and shifting your perceptions and expanding into higher levels of consciousness. So take a look in the link below for that. So I hope this has helped with you learning the emotion code. The other thing I want to say is I'm also going to follow this with a video that I did last year from a Facebook Live that I did, where I was actually using the emotion code on people commenting. So I will put that next in this series. It's a much longer video. So if you're really interested in how it works and to see me using it with an actual individual, then you can check that video out. So I think that's all for now, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Lots of love to you all, as always. Bye for now.